Welcome to the wonderful world of wire working, presented by Artistic Wire, Wig Jig, and Twist and Curl. Gary Helwig and Donna Nova are here. They are going to show us how to work with a variety of wire tools using permanent colored copper wire. We are going to make a pair of earrings, a bracelet, and a necklace. Now here's a list of items that you will need in order to follow along with Gary and I. You need to choose from one of the following: the Delphi Wig Jig, Olympus Wig Jig, the new Wild Wire tool. In addition, you will also need a pair of bent chain nose pliers, round nose pliers, a flush cutter, 18, 20, and 22 gauge wire in various colors. Well, I hope that you are ready to get wired, because I know that I am. I love working with the permanent colored copper wire. And Gary Helwig, who, let's see, now you and your family invented the wig jig.
My mother and I.
Your mother and you?
Yeah, my mother. It was my mother's idea, and well, I actually helped her.
You actually helped her?
Helped it along.
Yeah.
She was a wire worker, and would bring me her handmade designs, and one of the things in her designs was that all the shapes were just a little bit different, and they weren't standard. And so what I thought would be nice is if all of the things were consistent. There's a line from MASH, wouldn't it be nice if man could make a flower as lovely as God? Well, so I'm thinking, well, maybe man can make a piece of jewelry as good as a machine.
Oh my goodness, that is so inspiring. And you know, all of these tools have excited everyone here. And a lot of people that I have worked with throughout the country, I take the wire and the wig jig, and everyone looks at me when I say that, because they're not too sure if I'm going to break out into a dance or do something strange. But I tell them, no, it's a great way to make jewelry, and you can actually, once you learn the different techniques, make home decor items, and my goodness, all kinds of fun things. And we have so many wonderful examples, and there's all these different tools.
We're still learning how to use them. There's plenty of wonderful examples.
Well, that's so exciting. I can see you with your mom working away. Now, the first tool that we're going to look at is the Olympus.
The Wig Jig Olympus. The Wig Jig Olympus is acrylic. It's 5 inches square. It has a 4-inch pattern of 471 holes. It comes with 40 pins, 20 each in 2 different heights. And it allows you to place the pins in a variety of shapes. You can make things from as large as 4 inches to as small as a ½ an inch. And the wonderful thing about it is, once you've designed a pattern, you can make it over and over and over again in the same shape, in exactly the same shape.
So the concept is to take your colored wire and wrap it around the different pegs so that you get different loops and shapes. And can you do anything wrong? You know, can you go a wrong way on the Olympus wig jig?
Well, everyone has their own style. There's a variety of styles. So you can do things that might not be in your style, but they might be in another person's style. So you find a lot of interesting styles there.
Now, you also gave birth, so to speak, to this wonderful little Delphi.
The Wig Jig Delphi.
Yeah.
The Wig Jig Delphi, we had a lot of our designers using the Olympus, and they said, we love the Olympus, but we want it to be smaller. We want to make more delicate designs, and their style was smaller and more delicate. And so we made a whole pattern on a smaller tool called the Delphi, which allows us to make a lot more delicate designs. And actually, it turns out I prefer myself the designs made on the Delphi to the Olympus, because that's my style, a little bit different.
Well, that's what I like about the tools. Now, in addition to the Delphi, I love this wonderful purple wild wire tool. I think that this piece will really inspire children, and that's my big thing. I want to get kids involved with arts and crafts, and I want them to learn how to work with their hands more. And I think once they see this wild wire tool, they'll really get excited, and maybe even, you know, inspire another beginner crafter to work with the wire. So we have such a wide variety of tools to work with.
The Wild Wire tool is a great tool. It's an entry-level product, and it allows people to get into the craft without having to spend the money that they would need to spend for the larger and more expensive tools.
Yeah, you know, this would be a great item for the groups. So if we wanted to introduce this to a group that maybe is teaching children or other people to craft, they could definitely use that one. It would be very good to work with. Now, can you use the Super Shapers on both the Delphi and the Wild Wire tool?
We have the super pegs, and as you see, the super pegs come in a variety of sizes. What the super pegs allow you to do is to make larger rounded shapes. So they give you additional design options that you don't have with just the pins. And we found that there's an infinite number of options. That when you make the larger rounded shapes, there's just an infinite number of things that you can do. And we've got a lot of unique projects that we're working on using those shapes. The Olympus has super pegs for it. The Delphi has super pegs for it, different sizes.
Okay.
And the Wild Wire tool comes with its own little set of super pegs.
So perfect for everyone. Everyone can learn how to work with the wire and the different tools. And some of these pieces that we've been looking at are absolutely stunning. And it's amazing to me that you can make such unique pieces of jewelry. I mean, these are items that you would see in an exclusive boutique or, a real high-class shop. And so if you wanted to do this and actually make pieces and sell them, I bet you'd do really well with it.
Well, the honest truth is that we get at least 1 or 2 calls a week asking if people can use the designs in our books to sell jewelry.
Yeah.
And we've always said yes, they can. And our books, one of the nice things about our tool is because the tool is clear, it allows us to put a pattern on a book and then look through the tool and figure out how to place the pins on the tool.
Well, right here we have an example of that, and this is the
Wonderful Wearable Wire.
I'm glad you said it, because I knew it was www something.
We have enough alliteration here, don't we?
So we have this is the Olympus, and you simply place it on the graph, and then you follow the little, let's do a before and after here. So here's our design, and then we place it over the graph there, and then you would just simply follow the pattern, wrap the wire around the pegs.
Exactly.
Now, these 2 pieces right here, I just want to point out real quick, let me put them in here. This comes with the Olympus.
Yes, it does.
And this one comes with the Delphi.
Yes, it does.
And the reason?
So that as you get a great idea, we ask that people Xerox those. You get a great idea, you write it down so you don't forget, because unfortunately what tends to happen is you make a piece of jewelry and you like it, and someone says, well, could you make me one like that? And then you forgot how you did it.
Yes, and I have experienced that.
So with the good ideas, you write them down. So we keep sheets, and I have a little sheet in my toolbox of designs that I've written down.
Wow, well, you've really made it very easy for us. Now, I know that there are some pliers that we need.
There's some basic tools that you need here. Let me show you the basic tool. There are 3 basic tools that are mandatory. The first basic tool is the round nose pliers here, and the round nose pliers allow you to make rounded shapes in loops in the wire, and a very important tool. The second tool is the flush cutters, and the flush cutters, we're going to talk about the flush cutters and how to use them more in the next lesson. Next segment, but the flush cutters allow you to cut the wire and cut it flat so that you don't leave a sharp end on the wire. The third tool is chain nose pliers, and this particular pair of chain nose pliers is bent chain nose pliers. I like the bent chain nose pliers. They're flat, the jaws are flat, they're not marked, so they don't mark the wire.
Very good.
But because the jaws are bent, it allows you to hold your wrist straight and not at an angle, and that part of the body mechanics of this is get yourself in a comfortable position, sit up straight. One of the things that you find is making jewelry, you have a tendency to want to hunch over because you want to get close to your work.
Yes,
And you can't do that for a long period of time. It's bad for you. It's not healthy for your back, and you end up not making jewelry because you don't enjoy it.
And that's how come we look a little funny. I'm not really all that tall. But you chose to sit in a comfortable position, and I'm looking over you so that I can learn. Now,
You're supervising.
I'm supervising. Now, I love the nylon pliers, and I had never seen them before, and boy, I was working last night on some wire projects, and I was just stretching it along the wire, and it has a couple different functions.
The nylon jaw pliers are an optional tool here, and one of the very important features of the nylon jaw pliers is they do not mark the wire. And so we use the nylon jaw pliers in 2 ways. First, to straighten the wire out, remove the natural curl of the wire, and second, when we get a finished piece, we use it to kind of squish it to flatten it in place and harden it at the same time.
Yeah.
Another optional tool that we could talk about is the master coiler here, and we're going to use this in our intermediate project in the second segment. And it has, instead of the round nose pliers, which have various radius as you go up, it has 3 fixed radius, so it allows you to make the same diameter loop over and over and over again. And you find that when you're doing jewelry projects and you want to be consistent, that's important. The other aspect is it doesn't mark the wire on the outside of the loop, and if you mark the wire on the inside of the loop, people can't see it, so no one knows. But if you mark it on the outside, people can, and that's one of the reasons why this is an important tool.
Well, you know, before we get started, real quick, I just want to take a quick peek at this. You brought a butcher block or something. Are we going to cook?
A tool we call the whack-it down. And
yeah, very interesting piece.
the whack-it down is a tool that allows us to harden wire by putting it between the 2 pieces of the whack-it down there and smushing it together and slapping it pretty hard. And what that allows us to do is to make the wire harder. Regular wire, copper wire, artistic wire, comes soft, and because it's soft, it's easy to bend, but it doesn't hold its final shape very well. And so one of the things that we need to do when we make jewelry is you don't want it to change the shape after you've worn it. So we harden the wire, and the whack-it down allows us to harden it. Gold and silver wire can be ordered already hardened. It can be ordered soft or hard. The harder the wire, the better angular pieces it makes, but harder wire doesn't make the rounded pieces as nice as the soft wire. And so as you get more advanced in this, you'll find that you may want to use hard wire for some of your projects and soft wire for others, but when you do use the soft wire, you have to harden it to finish the piece.
Well, I'm glad that you shared that with me, because I know I've heard this term, you know, all the terminology of hard wire and soft wire, and I'm feeling it and I think, gosh, it all feels the same. You know, what do you mean by that? So this is great. You need to take notes because you're really going to learn a lot. We are going to get set up on our Delphi, and we're going to show everyone, a beginner's project. We're going to make a pair of earrings. So get ready and don't go anywhere. We're going to teach you how. All right, I hope you're ready to get started. We need to get our Delphi wig jig out because we are going to make a pair of earrings. And you are going to show us how. There's some proper ways that we want to cut our wire, but first of all, I think it's important that everyone knows the Delphi comes with some pegs. They're little
20 pegs.
20 pegs.
Yes.
And then we're also going to be using the super pegs.
We're going to be using one of the super pegs, and here you can see we're using the 1/4-inch super peg to help us make our rounded shape for the earring to go through the ear.
Right, and I have a little problem with that earring because I'm just wondering which one of us is going to show it off, and I think we need another tool. We need to call somebody in to give you an earring.
Give me Now
you...
How about a nose ring?
A nose ring. Well, you know, hey, it's wire. We can be creative. You have some cutters, and there's a proper way to use these cutters.
Absolutely.
And so with the wire, you're going to show us how.
Well, one of the things about the side cutters is the way they are designed is they have a flat side. The flush cutters have a flat side on one side, and then they're angled on the inside. And the inside angles allow it to cut, but they also leave a sharp end. So as I cut this wire, and you'll notice that I held the loose piece of wire so it didn't fly away. As I cut this wire, one side of the cut, the flush side of the flush cutters, cut it flat.
Okay.
And it's safe. And the other side is sharp because that's the sharp side of the flush cutters. That's the cutting edge. You want to make sure that you know which side is the sharp side, and your finished jewelry pieces will always have the flush side on them.
All right, so then at that point, we are actually going to work with this wire, cut it again.
Okay. Well, to make our ear wire, we're going to need about a 2.5-inch section of wire. And one of the little skills I do is when I cut the wire, I leave the flat side on the reel so that it won't poke anybody.
All right, so,
and so I know
safety first.
Safety first. I have the flat side here, the sharp side here, and so this is the side I'm going to start with to make the earring. One of the things that we need to do, most of the pieces that we make on our wig jig tool start with a loop, and the loop does a lot of things. First thing it does is it just fixes the wire to the jig. And so here I'm going to make a loop, and the loop is actually part of the ear wire, but in order to make a loop, I grab the wire with my round nose pliers, and I allow just a little bit of the wire to peek through, but as little as possible.
So you're barely holding on to that, so you don't want any to show on the other side.
Exactly. And I don't have to grip it terribly hard. It's not like, I have to put it in a vise or anything, but I have to hold it firmly. And then to make the loop, I just push the wire over the top of the round nose pliers and to where it touches the piece of wire.
That.
And now this we call a figure 9 loop. The loop is off to one side of the wire.
Yeah, maybe we can show that here, because I think it's very interesting what happens with the loop, because right now it's like you say, a figure 9, but I think it's bowing a little. Well, right there it looks like a little music note. Now I noticed when you made the loop, you came back up and over the pliers.
Yes.
But sometimes I've watched people and they go the other direction, and I've noticed when I do that it actually makes that little loop crooked or off balance. So is going up the proper way to make a loop?
Well, I'm not the loop police, so I'm not sure I'd tell you what the proper way is, but that's the way I always make them, because I can see the wire, I see the end of the wire, and I can watch the wire as it goes over.
Okay. So most accurate. You would get a nice loop if you do it that way.
I think so.
Okay, so at this point,
one of the things that I'd just like to comment, the piece that we're going to make uses this figure 9 loop. I can make this into an eye loop where the loop would be centered over the wire very easily by just putting my round nose pliers here and bending the wire to the right very slightly, and it would make the eye loop, but that's not required for this piece of jewelry. I just threw that in as a gratuitous piece of information.
And in addition to the information and everything that you will learn here on the video, we do have a variety of books. So we have really nice instructions so that you can learn how to not only make this little loop right here, but the eye pin that you were just talking about.
Absolutely. The wonderful wearable wire book that you showed earlier has those instructions in it.
Oh, good.
It has 30 pages of those general wire working tips.
It also has excellent safety tips, which I think are important also. So now, are we going to get a chance to work with my most favorite tool in the whole entire world?
Now, yes, we will. Absolutely, we will. The wire eraser, I call it, the nylon jaw pliers. What we're going to do is we're going to straighten this piece of wire before we put it on our wig jig Delphi. And the reason that we do that is we want to remove any of the natural curl in the wire, any of the imperfections. And the value of the nylon jaw pliers is because they're nylon, they do not mark the wire.
Yeah. And I think it's important too, and I wanted to point that out really quick before we make our earring, because when you're making pieces for boutique items or for sale, or if you're a designer and you're publishing items, it's always nice that the wire is nice and clean, and you do not have all those little crinkles. And the nylon plier is just great for that. So working with the Delphi.
Yes. What we're going to do is we're going to make this ear wire right here.
Okay.
And I've got my loop to start it. The next step that I do is, so people can see here, I'm grabbing it with my bent chain nose pliers, and I'm going to make about an 80-degree angle in the wire like that, so that it looks like that. That's just to get the ear wire started.
So a little hook.
And from here, place the wire on the jig, and then I wrap it around the super peg and bend it. And if folks can see...
Yeah, let's see right here. Ooh! And you know what? That's okay, though, because we were playing with this earlier, and we both commented on how it's okay to take the piece and to show everyone how it just goes right back on there. Because I've been working on the airplane many times, and you get a little turbulence, and pegs start popping out everywhere, you know. So it's okay. You can put your piece right back on there.
To finish this piece, the last step is to cut. And so when we make this cut, this is a test, Julian, what do? We
put the flat side
right
of the cutters towards our finished piece.
Absolutely, and that way we get a nice flat cut on the end of that wire.
Yay.
Now, with artistic wire, you don't need to file or finish that end, but with gold or silver, you would want to file the end of that wire and remove any little imperfections in the gold, any burrs that might be there.
So now this is, okay, this is actually our second pair of earrings. So as we make these pieces, we'll lay them out next to each other. This is this fun, crazy, loopity.
It's a little bitty Celtic knot.
Oh.
And we're making it on the Delphi here, and one of the things I like to point out is we made this on the diagonal, and all of these tools have a pin pattern where the spacing is different on the diagonal than it is on the horizontal. The spacing on the diagonal is even a little more close together than on the horizontal. So this is a very tight, very delicate piece here.
And this is your wire.
And this is my wire. We need about 5 inches of wire here. So I cut that. And we start with a loop again.
Using our round nose pliers.
Right. And this loop can be relatively small, and so I'm holding the wire close to the tip of the round nose pliers in order to get a relatively small loop, because it has to go over one of the Delphi pins. If I were making this on the Olympus or the Wild Wire, then I would need to make the loop larger to get over the larger pin for those tools. Straighten the wire real quick, a couple runs through, and then all we do here is wrap on the piece. And as you'll notice, what I'm doing is I'm holding the wire straight with my right hand while I'm moving the tool with my left hand.
And then just wrapping the wire around the pegs. And I might mention that we are working with the 20 gauge wire.
We're making this with 20 gauge. We could make it with 18 if we wanted.
Okay, but the 20 and the 22 I know are very easy to work with, along with the 18, and there are just so many wonderful colors of wire that you can really coordinate different pieces. And then you can see on the finished earrings that we've added a bead, and I love working with the wire and then embellishing with handmade beads or beads that you buy at the store or beads that you find when you're traveling. In fact, I have a bag of beads from Bali, and
a bag of beads from
Bali, and cannot wait to play with them. So now we obviously need to cut off that little tail.
We finish the wrap, we remove it from the jig, and we need to cut off the little tail. And again, we cut with the flat side towards the finished piece.
All right.
And I try to grab it so it doesn't fly away. And that little tail there I have to align with the rest of the piece. So I use my bent chain nose pliers to move that very closely.
Yeah, let's move that out of the way there, and then
All
we
right.
could all see the wiggly, loopity, crazy 8. Oh, and oh boy, this has another function.
And we have to use our nylon jaw pliers to squish this and flatten it, and in the process harden it. And this is what sets it in its final position. And we start by squeezing it kind of gently so that it doesn't, we don't want to squeeze it too much and have it change its shape.
And so this is actually helping to flatten the piece.
Flattens the piece and hardens the wire.
And then when we are finished with that, we are going to add all of these pieces together with little crazy S's.
We could make a figure 8 to connect those.
All right.
A figure 8 is a nice way to connect them because it adds motion. It allows the piece to move in a couple of different planes. Making a figure 8 is just a matter of making 2 loops. So I start with 1 loop, and then I change my grip on the pliers and grab it right at the end of that loop. Try to hold it at the same distance down the pliers as I made the first loop, and then I make a second loop. And I didn't give myself very much wire to play with here, but I have enough.
But you can correct that. So we will use our crazy S/8
figure 8
to connect all of our pieces together.
Right.
And when we come back, we're actually going to make a bracelet so that we can match. I'll tell you what, I'll wear the earrings, you wear the bracelet.
I'll wear the bracelet.
Okay, it sounds like a deal. While you're finishing up there, you need to go and grab the rest of your tools because we are going to make a bracelet so that we will all be matching in wire. Here's how you connect the earring pieces using figure eights. All right, we are going to work on the Olympus, and Gary is going to show us how so that I can have my earrings and you can have your bracelet.
I can wear my bracelet.
That's right.
Wear my bracelet home from here. Yes, we're going to make a bracelet, and it's made of 3 components here. It has a link, a clasp, and a wrap bead. So they're interesting components because you can do an awful lot with a wrap bead and a lot of different a lot of different jewelry pieces. So let me jump right into it here, and we'll start making the link. And this is a modification to a piece we call the Flemish spiral. And I have already cut my piece of wire. It's about 5.5, 6 inches long, and I make a loop on the end, and this is a figure 9 loop. So we're starting by placing the loop over this pin here, and if we can get a good view of this, place the loop there, and then again I'm moving the jig and holding the wire straight.
And you're just twisting.
Wrapping.
I like this because there's so much motion. You can really get into working with the wig jig.
Working with the wig jig, wrapping the wire, and I'm using 2 regular Olympus pins and 2 1/4 inch super pegs, and the super pegs make the larger loops there. And those super pegs could be a smaller size if you wanted a tighter piece as an option, or they could be a larger size if you wanted to make larger loops on the end.
Okay.
But that's how the piece looks like as we're done in the jig.
Yeah, and you know, you can see that wild figure crazy 8S. I love all the swirls. We have to come up with fancy names on the finished bracelet so that
Right.
you really get a good idea.
Right. I'm not going to cut that right here, but when I do, that's what the piece looks like.
Oh, okay.
And I've also taken that piece and flattened it in my nylon jaw pliers. So we've shown folks how to do that already, but it's a very simple piece, as you can see, and it makes a nice link for the bracelet. Now, the next piece that I'm going to make is this clasp right there, clasp. And I do that also with a piece of wire that's about 6 inches long, and I start with putting a regular figure 9 loop on the wire, and I also straighten the wire with the nylon jaw pliers. So starting from that, placing it on the jig in this position, and it uses just 3 simple pegs. It uses the smallest of the super pegs, which is about 1/8 of an inch, and 2 Olympus pins, and put it on the jig in that position, and then I just wrap like this. This is a very nice, very strong clasp, and
Push that down there.
yeah, and then bring it back around like that.
And this is very interesting to watch because it's amazing that you could actually make all of these pieces, including the clasp, on the Olympus with these pegs here.
Absolutely.
So what's happened? Are we?
We've finished using the tool, and now I just have to cut the wire and make my cut right here.
Okay. And then we can take
it
that
off.
And then you have the beginning stages to the clasp. Now, I've watched you do this, and it's quite interesting how you twist and turn, and you're going to break out with the nylon pliers.
Absolutely. I sort of make this, compress the wire.
And we're getting the top and the bottom. So we almost have a, what is that, a hairpin look, a bobby pin.
Bobby pin, exactly. And from this position, if everyone can see that, get my hands out of the way.
Well, it's so fun to work with the wire, you know, it's fun to bend it and shape it. And
now I want to
wonderful
wrap,
pieces.
and I do the wrap by grabbing the loop with my nylon jaw pliers here, and then wrapping around.
It's amazing how many uses this tool has, and I think it's great for people who, during this step right here, maybe they have a weak wrist, so it's nice to know that you don't have to fumble around with that piece.
It saves your thumbs.
Oh, yes, well, that's a good thing to save.
Yes.
All right, so just coiling that piece around the other one.
And
I see
roughly
that.
3 or 4 times.
Okay. And you know, let me get a hold of that piece because I want to show this off just so that everyone can see where we're at with it and what it looks like. We'll just kind of cup it right there. All right, so I'll give it back to you.
All right. Now this piece, the initial loop that I made, is not a part of the finished piece. So I just, at this point, I need to cut that guy off.
Oh.
And throw him away.
Don't throw them away. Save your scraps. I like to put them in my clear bottles.
All right.
Okay.
Just as a matter of style, I'm going to add a little bend to the end of this loop here. So that's about a 30-degree bend. People can see that.
Right. And that is, again, for the clasp to your bracelet.
Right. And I want to align the end loop here with the rest of the link, and I do that with my round nose pliers and just twist it slightly so that the loop lines up in a straight line roughly in the center of that link.
Okay.
All right. Then the last step uses the master coiler that we talked about in our first segment. And we use the master coiler here because the radius is the same. Where the round nose pliers, the radius changes from the top to the bottom. The radius here is the same, and I just bend this over the master coiler.
Pretty amazing. I'm going to bring this one back into view here so
Yeah.
everyone can see. Wow, and there you go. Now, how would we, because I
that's
want
the finished
everyone to
piece.
see you put these pieces together because this is so wonderful. How would we connect our existing piece to this piece right here?
To that piece right
Yeah,
there?
right there.
All right. To do that connection, it's very simple. Because of the way this piece is made, I can just hook those guys together right like that.
My goodness.
Or I could hook them with a figure 8 or an S-link.
Yeah, and then if you wanted to, you could come back with this piece, and this is how, and you could see from the finished bracelet how it would all come together.
That
and
makes the clasp.
This is absolutely wonderful to know how to create. Thank you so much. I know that you've inspired everyone.
Do we have time to show them the wrap bead link?
You know, I think that we might have a second.
Well, we'll try to do that really quick here. The wrap bead link starts by grabbing the wire an inch from the end,
Okay.
bending it down, try to do this quick, bending it down at 70 or 80 degrees, grab it with my round nose pliers right after the bend on the short side,
Oh, wow.
bend it up and over.
And then you would just string your bead on there, and you know we can see that look on the finished bracelets. And thank you so much.
Sure.
This sure has been fun. 30 minutes with Gary Hellwig featuring the wig jig and all of the wonderful things that you can use your imagination and create, not only jewelry, but home decor projects, as we have mentioned earlier. You know, we'll be back with Donna Nova, and we are going to learn how to twist and curl. Another way to have fun with wire. We are going to make twist and curl beads with Donna, but first here's a list of the items that you will need in order to follow along. The original twist and curl, flush cutters, and 22 gauge wire in a variety of colors. All right, we are ready to make twist and curl beads, and Donna Nova, the inventor of the twist and curl, is going to show us how to use this incredible tool, and I cannot believe that you actually invented it. I'm just in awe of everything that you do. It's unbelievable. Now, how did you get started? What inspired you to come up with this tool?
Well, I'm a glass bead maker, and I wanted to use wire work to augment my glass beaded jewelry. So I took 2 wire working classes, and they were teaching us how to make beads called a coochie coil bead and a blue moon bead. And the blue moon bead was because it's so complicated to make by hand that you don't want to make one any more often than once in a blue moon.
Okay.
And what you do is by hand you twist all this wire. And I thought there had to be an easier way, so the tool was developed. because of that.
Absolutely, yeah. Unbelievable, and it's so inspiring because so many of us have had a similar experience, and I think that it's really neat that you followed through with what you wanted to see happen. And these twist and curl beads are unbelievable. I mean, you can make something very simple just by using the wire, but then if you want to embellish it, you can actually add beads, and the colors are really what set these pieces off. And you're working with the 22 gauge wire, but you can use 22 through 28. So that's good to know. Now this down here is the fabulous original twist and curl.
That's right.
And you can make basic beads.
That's right. The original twist and curl is the one that I started with, and after I developed that, I had so many requests for larger mandrels that I started to have the deluxe twist and curl made.
Okay, and that's actually another tool that we have laying out there, and it has 3 different, what appear to look like, that you call them mandrels. Okay, all right, so similar to a dowel, perhaps like a metal dowel, so some of us would connect with that word. But we are going to work with the original, and I'm actually going to follow along because I cannot sit here and stand to watch you do it all by yourself. I have to join you. This is so fun. You've inspired the whole entire crew here to work with it. So how do we get started?
Okay, basically what you do, you take the wire, and there's a hole in the handle of the twist and curl. You put the wire through the hole, and you bend it over just a little bit.
Okay.
And the only reason that you do that is to stabilize the wire as you twist. And you grab the wire between your thumb and forefinger, and you just start to twist with the forefinger of your other hand. When the coils start to stretch out like you see them doing here, you just push the coils right up to the handle.
Oh, okay. Because I would imagine as you're going around, in fact, I'll play catch up to you. In fact, there's that little hole right there.
Push it through further. Push it through the hole further. Yeah,
lesson number 1. And then put it in the right hand.
Right.
And am I?
Hold the wire.
Okay, it's this way, correct?
That way.
All right.
Between your thumb and forefinger.
All righty.
And sort of on the mandrel at the same time.
Okay.
And then twist with your right forefinger.
Okay.
Now, if you're left-handed, you would use it in your left hand and you would twist towards you.
Okay.
That's the only difference.
I see. Now what happens, because I know everyone's wondering, what happens if I roll over my existing coil? So if I get to going too quick,
let me show you here what happens if you roll over. I've done it a couple of times. You just take it and you uncoil it.
All right.
And you start over again.
Okay. And I bet if you had too much of a bend in there, you could use the wonderful nylon pliers and straighten it out. Okay, so just continuing to squish it in there. How long do we want to make this piece?
Well, that depends on the size of the bead that you want to make. If you want to make just a small bead, you can use 3 or 4 inches of it. Most people want to make the initial coil as long as they possibly can. So you just twist until you can't hold on to the twist and curl any longer.
Okay, you want to race?
Sure.
Okay. This is so great. You know what? There's no reason why the little people can't pick this up, the kids.
Oh, absolutely. I have a girlfriend who bought one for herself and never could get to it, so she bought 2 more for her children.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? Most of the time when we're thinking about the projects for the kids, you know, it's hard to come up with a project that is geared towards the boys. But I do believe that they would really get a kick out of this because it's I don't know, it's somewhat mechanical.
It's wire.
It's strong, it's wire. Okay.
I don't usually do this quite so often.
Right, I think I'm going to snip off there. Okay. So now you would just scooch that in, and I know that you have some, they look like wild tubes over there. Oh, okay. I knew I was going to end up taking your tools from you. So just have too much
I
fun
need to borrow
here.
my clippers.
All right, your clippers. See, we're fighting
Okay,
over tools
let me
already.
put this aside.
Okay.
Do you need the copper for anything?
I think I'm just going to work with one color, which is a great point that if you wanted to make a multi-color bead, you could, or if you want to play it safe, you could just use one color, which I'm going to, so
Okay.
everyone can see the difference.
Okay, I'm going to use 2 colors,
All right.
and I'm going to use red for the next color. So step 2 of this process is that you take the wire, the original wire, right off of the spool, and you run it through the coil that you just made with the tail of the original coil
Okay.
at the top.
I think I'll scooch these over real quick. Okay, so
Okay.
we're just going to go through the tube
coil.
there,
Mhm.
through the coil, and I'll fix my little top piece there. All right?
Okay, then you put the wire again through the hole in the handle.
And we're just letting that first piece
Let
slip
it just
down.
hang there, right?
Okay.
Just ignore that for the time being.
Okay.
And you do 4 or 5 twists, just like you did originally.
All
Hold
right.
it between your thumb and your forefinger and twist.
And they're off. And
Now, depending on the kind of bead that you want to make, and you'll learn this with practice, you can make this as long as you want or as short as you want.
okay.
If you want the bead symmetrical, you'll have to count the number of rotations and have them both the same on each side of the bead, which I'll show you in a minute. So I have a few there.
Okay, so just a few times around.
Then I push the coil right smack up to the coil that you have on the wire and twist the 2 tails together. That's really important with artistic wire. It's a bit slippery, and if you don't do that, the coil will just slide right around, right
Okay.
down the wire. So twist them together.
Twist. Okay.
And then again, hold the coil between your thumb and forefinger,
Okay.
and you have the same motion as before. You just twist the handle.
Oh my goodness, I can see my bead coming to life. Look at that. Now, I'm just going to take a wild guess, but it looks like I could almost leave it just like that.
You could.
Ooh.
That's
Yay.
what I call the basic bead.
Oh.
You can leave it just the way it is. And it's really effective all by itself.
Wow, that is stunning. Okay, so what did you do right there? You came back after you were done and you started to twist that end, and then you're creating a little coil piece at the end, just like
Right.
you did at the beginning.
Right, and try to make it the same length as what you have on the other end.
Boy, yours looks really great here. You know what? I think I forgot to cut off my little tail. That's what I did. I'll cut off my little guy right there. I wasn't following exactly. Okay.
Okay.
Twisting.
Now, when you're finished, you cut the tail. Well, actually, I'm going to leave the tail at this end this time,
Okay.
and I will cut the tails off at the other end.
I'm gonna steal these over here. Cut it off. All right. Boy, this is so much
Take
fun.
it off the mandrel.
Okay. The mandrel. I have to get that word down. All right, we took that off.
Right, and I'm going to use a third color just so you can see the difference.
Can I see your red and
Mhm.
copper one real quick? Isn't that amazing? So at this point, we're looking at it. Isn't that great? Oh, those 2 colors together, it's absolutely amazing how you can see that second color just pop right through.
Mhm, it
So
does.
pretty. Okay, you can have it back.
Okay,
All
thank
right. I think I'll clean mine up here. I've got little tails everywhere. Okay.
you. Okay, now what I'm going to do on the third step is, actually I'm using 20 gauge wire here instead of 22. I cheated just a little
Okay,
bit.
well that's all right because we can use a variety of sizes and colors. All right.
And it's the same process as the second.
Our tail is up.
The tail is up. You put the wire through the coil.
Okay.
If it doesn't go the first time, you just back it off a bit and try
Okay.
again. Come out, and again, just let the
Okay.
bead go.
Ooh. All right. Amazing how now you've got a third color involved
have
in your
3.
bead. Wow.
And actually, the reason I'm doing that is so everybody can see where the colors end up in the final bead, because it's really
Oh.
important. It took me a long
She's the
time
teacher.
when I was using a single color
Yeah.
to figure out where the colors ended up.
Okay.
This is important. So you have a tail again,
All right.
and you start twisting, again 4 or 5 or however many twists that you want.
Now, is there a
Push it right up
difference?
there.
I know that we've talked about this before in regards to this last step, what our bead will look like if we continue to go around.
Yes, you have
we have
one
something over here, this guy.
there, yes.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
All right, so maybe we can get a shot. So if I continued to twist, I would have a very long piece. So it looks like an earring and or a pendant.
Right.
Okay, so I think I'll keep mine short. Alrighty,
Okay. you have
once
yours ready?
again, yep.
Okay. Again, you push the bead right up to the other coil, the coil that's on the mandrel, and
Okay.
you twist the 2 wires together,
Ah,
the 2 tails together.
always twisting those tails together, so that helps to secure that piece. Won't fall off.
That's right.
All right, I'm a fast learner.
Otherwise, it slides right along the wire.
Okay.
Okay, now you do the same motion as before. You
Okay.
hold the bead between your thumb and forefinger,
All
and
right.
you twist with the finger of your right hand.
Okay. Ooh. There we go. Got a little backwards there. Oh, your bead is so absolutely beautiful. And then after you do that, you put another little coil on the
do
end.
the coil and try to do it the same as the other side.
Okay.
And you scrunch it up tight with your fingers if it doesn't go up tight all by itself.
Now, is that almost ready to come off of there?
It is. Mhm.
Ooh, and you know, coming up, we are actually going to, you can go ahead and slide that off, but we're going to show you how you can add the beads to your twist and curl bead. And what do you have there? Look at this. This is so great. A finished twist and curl bead. Ooh. So what do we do?
There it is.
Oh, let me see. That is absolutely stunning. And so at this point, we can add it to other pieces, and then we're going to show you how to add those beads. To make a wire-wrapped bead, take your basic or fluff bead and stretch it out. Wrap it around a glass bead and or any other decorative bead simply by adding a head pin with a seed bead. You'll run this through the bottom coil, then through the decorative bead. Take your head pin, put it through the top coil, add another seed bead, and to close off your head pin, simply add a loop. Well, get your beads ready because we are going to make a beaded twist and curl bead, and I cannot wait because I probably have thousands of beads just like you.
And you can use any size and any color that you want,
Oh,
and
well,
even any
yeah.
shape.
Okay, ooh, any shape. Ooh, you could really create many different looks. Now, you've already got your wire on the twist and curl.
Right. I've done the first couple of rounds, and before I did that, I strung all these beads onto the wire. It's real easy to do. So you just get them on there and you start twisting.
Okay, this is the step that we had gone through earlier, where we were winding our wire around the, oh my
This is
goodness, what is it
step-
called again?
the
mandrel.
This is step 1.
Okay. Oh, and
I
so
probably have more
pretty.
beads on here that I'm actually going to need, so what I'll do at the tail end is just cut them off and save them for the next bead.
So you could actually prepare to make a few different beads at a time then. If you wanted to get the kids involved and have them string the beads, that would be really a
Yeah, you
great
sure could.
project for them. Oh, look at that.
These are strung randomly.
Ah.
But what I did do, because of the color, is I put on twice as many red beads as I put on any other color, because they're the most vibrant.
Oh.
And this is going to be called, I guess, my Mardi Gras bead.
Yeah, we were looking
Thanks to
at
you.
them wondering, you know, they looked so festive that the first thing that came to my mind was Mardi Gras. It'd be a lot of fun too, you know, we like to make treasures. My son and I like to have little treasures for him, and it would be fun to make these, and then actually he could give those to his friends, and they could put them in little bags, and they could have them as little trinkets.
I actually think these would make great ornaments for the Christmas tree.
Ooh, you know, especially if you left it just like that. You could leave it in that long
icicle look.
Oh, see, I knew we were born close together for a reason. Look at this. So you just continue, and the same rules apply as far as length on the dowel, the mandrel. I'm going to be saying that like 20 times.
I'm just pushing them up as close as I can, and only a few beads at a time. You can't hold too many at a time.
All right, so you're feeding them onto it.
Right. Now I'm going to let go of those, and I'm going to just do 5 or 6 twists at the end, just like I did at the beginning.
Okay.
And that'll be the end of the step.
Oh, all right. Well, that's pretty simple. Ooh, they look so festive, and they look yummy. I know that we can't eat them, but they do look yummy.
Sure can't.
That's how fun it looks.
Step 1.
Ooh, look at that. That is amazing. You know, I would leave it like that, and I would decorate my Christmas tree with wonderful
But it
icicles.
gets even better.
Okay, gets even better. More uses than one.
Again, you put the wire through the coil. It's a little bit trickier this time, but it's
Just
not
like
all that tricky, just a little bit more.
Threading. There you go.
No, that
Almost.
wasn't quite it.
So if you come out, well, there you go. You could just stop at that point maybe and squish it in.
I could.
There you go.
I'll just do that.
Yeah.
Put it through the mandrel again, the handle of the twist and curl.
And get that little hole right there. There we
Okay.
go. Bend it.
Do your 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 little twists,
Wow.
and hook this on. Do the little twist.
Do
Twist
the little
tails
twist
together.
of the tail. It's all in the twist of the tail.
And then just start
Right.
twisting.
You know, there are some wonderful finished examples down here, and it's just amazing. I'm a real color person just like you are, and it's so fun to look at all the different color combinations that you can create. This one down here that has the green and silver sparkly beads. It's very nice.
So here you are. It's all finished.
No, just that quick?
All finished.
My
right.
goodness.
Cut the tails off.
Okay. And then
There
that's
it
your
is.
bead?
Mhm,
Okay,
that's the bead.
I have to hold it because, like I said, I just love little treasures. Look at how wonderful that is. You know, I
love
want
that
to show off something right over here, so I'll give this back to you. Depending on how you string the beads, and what we have right here is this wonderful combination of rainbow colors. And so you can place the beads onto the wire, and then depending on what color scheme, you can actually create different looks, which I know that we have a couple pieces down there that actually show what you can create.
I do have to give credit for this to a woman that I met via the internet. Her name is Libby Krieger, and she lives in Arizona, and she's actually the one who developed the very first prototype for this bead. So
Wow,
it's
that's
been
great.
expanded a bit. But
All right, well, thank you, Libby, because they're very fun. You know, working with the twist and curl has been such a joy, and there are so many things that you can make, earrings and necklaces, and you know what, it won't be long before we get a hold of those beads and we start embellishing other items that we have laying around the house, because they really will set off any piece that you might have that you just need to give a little extra pizzazz to. And I don't know if we can get those earrings that are on her ears, but boy, those are sure stunning. I just love that. That's with a gold wire, and they're so pretty. Okay, you're being shown
28
off here. Look at
gauge.
this. This is great.
28 gauge.
Oh, is that 28 gauge? That's great. Thank you so much, Donna.
thank you.
This has
been a
really been,
pleasure.
yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I will come back and show you all of the wonderful books that you can pick up so that you can learn how to work with the wig jig and the twist and curl tool, and we'll show you some other wonderful projects. In addition to this how-to video, you can also learn how to create other projects using the wig jig and twist and curl tool with these instructional books. designing with wire, wire jewelry, wonderful wearable wire, wonderful wire works, and making wire jewelry. There are many more wire books available. Once you learn how to work with these innovative tools, you can add your decorative pieces to frames, lampshades, bookends, glass bottles, and even baskets. Working with clay can be fun. Mix clay and wire products together and create unique, one-of-a-kind journals. We hope that you enjoyed watching this video and learning how to work with artistic wire, wig jig, and twist and curl tools.